Welcome back. Ryan's Thoughts and Cars, 50 in 2025. It's just kind of uploading some shorts and stuff and videos. It's hilarious because I'll have something in mind that I want to talk about, and then I'll do YouTube stuff and totally lose everything that I was thinking about. I just went to the pool. Went to the pool. I love the pool. I always wondered if I owned a pool, if I'd use it. I know we had a hot tub, and man, I was in that thing all the time. I was the pool guy. I was doing all the chemicals and the pHs and everything. What do I want to do here? I think I want to get, like, I'm low on tea. I think I want a tea. I don't work for a bit yet, but it was really good. I haven't been to the pool in a while because I hurt myself at work. I don't know if it's in one of the earlier videos, but I fell at work. We have these trap doors that we open to go into the confined space, but into the crawl spaces. We were doing crawl space checks, and one of them is right behind a door, and it doesn't. I opened the door, stepped in the hole, fell down. But on the way down, I hit my leg, got a nice big deep gash, took a bunch of stitches. So I've actually stayed away from the pool because of that. Been waiting for it to fully heal because it was really deep. It was really deep. And I was looking at it yesterday, and it's pretty solid. It's shrunk quite a lot. It's super itchy. But yeah, I'm just gonna. So I thought, I'll just take a few weeks off of the pool and just let it heal, right? Let it get to a nice spot where I don't have to think about it. I'm gonna look at it right now. I'm not gonna show you or anything. It's not that big or gross right now. But I don't have band-aids on it. I've been keeping band-aids on it because the stitches are stiff and they poke through my pants, right? And so sometimes when my pant leg lifts and stuff, it was hurting it, right? So I had to, keep little band-aids on it here and there. Yeah. Oh, I'm at McDonald's right now. I'm gonna go get a tea. Peppermint, if you're wondering. I need cash. Yeah, I got cash. Day in the life, day in the life. I work later on here. I got some bus runs to do. Same thing with tomorrow and Saturday. So I get Friday off, but I'm going voting with my daughter. It's a Canadian election thing. We're going for the advance poll. And I really don't want to vote liberal or progressive or whatever they call themselves, democratic, whatever. Like at this point, I'm 50 years old. I've voted my entire life, and nobody I've ever voted for has done anything really good. I don't know. I was on the island, and in Canada, how voting works is that you vote for the local person. The local person is tied to a big party that ends up in Ottawa. And in that big party, they get to vote who the prime minister is going to be. It's not like the States where, there's Trump and Biden on a ballot and you get to choose between which one you want or whoever else is on the ballot for being president, right? It doesn't work like that in Canada. You vote for the local schmuck, hoping he doesn't screw up your community so that you can get a decent prime minister in to run the country, right? Because, you know, I've always hated that because, where I live in my community, you have to vote for. So if you want the liberal prime minister, the, you know, head of the liberal party to be the prime minister, you have to go to your local, you have to vote the local liberal person in so that they get a seat, you know, in Ottawa. And the more seats there are in Ottawa is who gets to be the prime minister or the lead party. And the lead party can change, the prime minister can change within the party. They get to vote their own people in and out, sort of thing. It doesn't happen very often, but it has just happened. Everybody wanted Trudeau out, so he kind of stepped down, and their party voted in somebody else to be the leader of the Liberal Party. And the guy's a tool, Carney or something like that. I never voted for Liberals, by the way. I'm talking about this because on the island, it was freaky deaky people, all hippies and all of that back in the day. And some of the local parties we could vote for were totally awesome. I mean, there was an independent party, there was Green Party, there was the Liberal Party, there was a Progressive Conservatives, there was NDP, but then there was the Pirate Party. I voted for the Pirate Party. And there was a couple of weird ones too. There was the Pot Party. I never voted for them the whole time I was there. I think there was a couple of elections while I was there. And but yeah, at this point in my life, knowing how screwed over you get by the people who are in charge of the government, as a single, as a citizen, you know, all I know is more government is bad. It is. If you have to rely on government to do things for you, your country's going to be in trouble. You will be in trouble. So yeah, I don't know. I always just wanted to. I'm at the point where I don't care anymore. I'm gonna vote, and I'm gonna vote for people that will say no when they're sitting in the office or sitting in Parliament in their one chair. You know. Oh, I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna get my tea, and then I'm gonna talk some more afterwards. This chick's hood's open. Maybe I should tell her. It's kind of cute. I got Karen ordering a major breakfast at McDonald's here. Yeah, that was easy. If you're new to the channel and you're still watching this, my name's Ryan. I'm 50. This is kind of like a vlog thing where I just hit record and talk about stuff. I drive around. I have another YouTube channel that I do. It's about cars. I just got started in YouTube, and I find it to be really fun to do. I do. I don't know why exactly. I was at a point in my life where I needed something to do, and a buddy suggested YouTube, and I started doing it. I was really uncomfortable and didn't like it at first, but I thought, hey, I'm going to give it a go. I need something to do after I get retired. And Shazam! I found out I really liked it. I really enjoyed doing it, and here we are. Got you watching me on whatever day it is. I'm basically starting life over, and that's why I'm kind of recording this. 52 this year. I'm 52 this year. I've been wrong this entire time. My daughter did the math yesterday. She's like, no, you're 52 this year. So I'm actually 51 right now. Like I don't care. Other people seem to be more interested in how old I am than I actually am. I've always found that in my entire life. Like, I don't know. I don't know how old I am. I really don't care. I can sit here and do math for it. Why? Like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let me know in the comments if you feel the same way, because I don't know. It's important, I guess, for like, I don't know, when you were trying to get into bars and stuff as a young person. Like now, I don't care. I never really cared. I never really cared. Time didn't mean anything to me. Like, it was very fluid and weird time. It just wasn't that important. Going through the scenic industrial lots of the small town where I am. Oh, Bartle and Gibson. Been there a few times. But I've never driven around in this area. Oh, it's gravel roads. I don't like gravel roads. I'm going to go this way. Feeding the future, nutrient. Interesting. AG Solutions. It's probably full of Monsanto stuff. I don't know. Yeah. Some things I'm doing with my life. I am getting back into the groove of a normal life. I just moved from the island. Oops. About a year ago. No, not a year ago. It's almost a year. 9 months ago. Where I was working for the federal government, and that went like it was supposed to. I quit. They were not going to give me my number. I was not on a list. I was a white guy, and they weren't hiring white people, white males. So I gave up on that. Moved across provinces to help my parents settle in for retirement and get my daughter her wings on the go for work and things, because she's got her degree and it wasn't gonna be useful on the island. Hit the highway. It's interesting. So yeah, I don't know. I hadn't worked out for a long time. I had some health issues, so I'm back into working out every day pretty much. And when I'm in another town, I go to the gym. When I'm in this town, I go to the pool. I just did a whole bunch of dating, and really, I met, out of everybody I was dating, it's kind of a theme with this channel because I'm kind of going through it. Met a decent lady who was absolutely sane, which, is a super bonus. I was just kind of looking through a video, making a short of a video I had made about the dating apps and the quality of people on there, and it rang so true now that I think about it. If I sum it up really quickly, what it is back in when they first started dating apps, dating websites, online dating, the freaky people were not the norm. They got the most stories talked about of people on dating apps, of course, but they were few and far between. Was my point with that. Now, with how the owners of the companies of the dating apps have monetized them and set up, their business structure behind them, all that seems to be on the dating apps on a consistent basis is the crazy people, the outliers. And if there weren't that many from before, it slowly turned people who are on dating apps into freaky people, I guess, maybe at some point. Because there was a lot of people I went through, and it was such a huge disconnect in person that it was it's difficult to explain, and I'm really struggling to figure that out. Well, I'm actually not figuring it out. I'm giving it up, 100% giving it up. Like I deleted everything, and now I'm just going to meet people in person. It is that bad. You know, dating apps aren't getting my money, and I was spending money on them. I was spending money for this and that and the other thing. Like Bumble was the worst. Bumble was the worst app to use as a guy. I met some really good people off there, but you are basically forced to pay. You were forced to pay just to read emails and things. So I don't know. It was the worst app that way. Uh, my daughter's looking for work right now. Companies are ruthless nowadays, like absolutely ruthless. You can't just put in your time and do your job. You're required to go above and beyond, and then get no loyalty. Get no extra. They want you to go above and beyond your paycheck and your time to to work at a job, to stay hired, which is absolutely, you know, I think we my entire time growing up, you know, enacting laws and things to keep this stuff from happening, and yet here we are in 2025 at the end of my career, and the workplace is worse than it ever was. The workplace is worse than it ever was. You know, they take advantage of so much of people. Here I did a job for Lowe's. It was brand new Lowe's. I wanted to work in the garden center. I thought it'd be a fun job for a summer. I was going to university at the time, and up until then, I had already been working for the Department of National Defense. Okay, on a military base. And there's forms and there's security clearances and there's things that you do with the federal government on a military base to work, right? I never signed so many papers in my life for non-disclosure agreements and uh, not having to talk about what your managers say to you and things like that. Nothing to do with like actual, confidential data or anything like that, like classified CB or A. You know, I don't know, secret, top secret, shit like that in the States. But I worked at Lowe's, and I must have signed 15 to 20, like it was a massive amount, and I was reading them going, oh, all of this is keeping me from talking about my boss. My boss is a, and this actually happened because my manager in the garden center, she kept that company afloat. Actually, it was their first year in business. It was the first year the garden center came out, and she was able to make that the most profitable part of the business of that company, that location, to where half of what we did there, the profits and everything, and the loss prevention that we did there, because we worked as a team. She was kind of the head on it, and you know it was just me and her at the end. And when the numbers came back, it was the number one garden center in all of Canada. It wasn't the biggest. It was a small little garden center on the island, right? In a mall shopping mall shopping parking lot in a small mall too. Like it was, it wasn't nothing, but it did the best, not of all the garden centers across Canada, and it did half the income. The garden center that she ran, that we did, the business that we did there, and how we worked it out to keep it um, profitable, was that it they broke even. Like all the bills were paid and everything was paid just from that one garden center, which is incredible, right? And as soon as all of that happened, it was kind of funny because then Buddy wrote me up. Like as soon as people found out I was good at my job and stuff like that, I started getting write ups from the managers. I started getting people complaining about me. Yeah, it was hilarious, and I ended up quitting. Um, the boss wanted you to do more work and telling me that I was a piece of shit under his breath as I was, we're talking and doing things. But while she was doing this and she was in charge of this garden center and running this thing this way, the store manager guy, there was a store manager, but he left, and the next guy came up, right? And next guy that came up hated her guts. He was in charge of the store, and as soon as he could, he dragged her into private rooms and started yelling at her and stuff like that. Like, and you could hear it. People could hear it. Now, you sign non-disclosure agreements with them saying that when these exact scenarios happen, you're not allowed to talk to anybody about what was said in that room, right? And she came back and she was crying and stuff like that. Like, this guy said this guy said that, this guy said this. And I'm like, what? Well, the guy was 100% personality disorder, obviously, just by how he was acting and how he was treating people. As soon as he took over, like, it was like 30 or 40% of the staff quit. He said, this guy's in charge. No, we're out of here. And they all did, right? Not because they had a better job or anything like that. They just did not want to be, you know, around with this guy in charge. And then they sent somebody from HQ over to the store to wonder, okay, what's going on here? Because this garden center did all of this work and did super amounts of money and stuff like that. And the lady quit, who was in charge of it. And then as soon as this guy took over, you know, half the staff left. Like, what's going on? We got to find this out. This guy comes over and he's like, oh yeah, you can tell me anything. So the guy, well, say it. I'm like, no, I'm not going to stay working here. Oh, we can make it better. We can do this and that. And I said, well, then fire him. The guy shouldn't be in charge of people, right? He's abusive. He does it all behind closed doors, and nobody can say anything because we all sign these non-disclosure agreements, right? That's the truth. As soon as you do something about that, I'll think about staying, sort of thing, right? No, I'll do this, that, and you get the word speak, right? And I quit because nothing was happening. And I actually went back. We were doing renovations and stuff, and that was the local, I don't know, lumber store. Was that Lowe's? It was closest to our house, and we went there, and I saw him still there. The guy that they sent from HQ still working there, and he was working with that same store manager guy that nobody wanted to work with, right? And I was like, "Who? Okay, I'm glad I left. I'm glad I left. No wonder, no wonder, no wonder." The guy who wrote me up got fired, and I saw him working again at Home Depot. You know, renovations, going to all these stores and stuff, right? Like, can't treat people decent at a job, and a low-paying job. Like, that's what I found. Is I thought, I'd just pick up one of these dumb little teenager jobs, and that way I don't have to do anything, and just collect a little bit of a paycheck, right, while I'm in between classes. And what I found is that those low-level jobs now require I can't believe what they require of people. I really can't. I don't know how people do it. Like, being in those little low wage jobs is impossible. You're treated like crap. You're asked to do things on your own time. You don't get paid for doing things. Um, the requirements that they get you to do while you're on shift are incredible. I've worked construction, and I thought I had, you know, screaming, yelling, shitty bosses my entire life, but nothing like those low level jobs. You know, nothing. They treat you like absolute garbage. And I thought, after all of these years, after all of this work, make the workplace better and all of this, nobody listens to any of that. As soon as somebody's in charge, they just want to get their own way and they persecute people at their jobs. That's all that happens. And if somebody's being treated, if a group of people is and the store is being treated well, they make sure to take out the person who's in charge of that and send in somebody to mess that up. That's the way it always works. It's kind of like what narcissists do. Can't have it my way, so we have to change that. I have to make sure this is run my way. Doesn't matter if it's correct, doesn't matter if people are getting along, doesn't matter any of that, right? It's just whatever this person wants, they have to get, and they'll do whatever it takes to get it, right? Doesn't matter who makes it, who's miserable and how bad it goes. Oh, that's my rant on jobs. Yeah. Luckily, I'm working at a decent place with decent people, but I can only find that out here in the rural areas, right? If I was in the city, that would be almost impossible because I've already done that. I do find my little niches with people, but to work a low level job in the city is impossible. You can't pay rent. You have to be living with 15 people in your house or your apartment or whatever it is in order to pay rent. That's how retarded it is. Can only keep those jobs for short times, very short times. Or if you have everything paid off and you have nothing, you have no payments. You have no payments at all, and all you are doing is, yeah, you probably can't even do that now. You probably can't even do that now. Like, even I'm getting $25 an hour, and I wouldn't be able to pay rent on my own. I'd be able to pay rent, but I wouldn't be able to pay anything else. I wouldn't be able to afford groceries. I was doing the math with my daughter, saying, "Hey, this is how much I'm making. There's a house for sale," and I worked out the house payment was $1,300. So you throw in property taxes, so you're at about 2,000 a month, right? Plus bills, plus whatever. That's all. But 2,000 a month, property taxes and mortgage payment, right? No insurance or anything yet, or maybe insurance was included in that. Insurance, yeah, house insurance, yeah, house insurance, loan insurance, all of that. It's $2,000 a payment a month, right? And what I make doesn't cover that. Doesn't cover that. Never mind groceries. Never mind fuel to get to work. Never mind car insurance. Never mind, because there is no buses out here, right? Crazy, crazy, crazy world we're living in. That's why I'm making these videos. And I'm gonna end it there. Let you go. Thank you very much for watching. Comment in the comments something that struck a chord. Share it with other people. That's what the comments are for. It's not for the algorithm. I don't do. I'm not pushing it for that, right? Uh, Hit a like if you heard something you liked, and I'll see you in the next one.